Welcome back to Don't Quote Us Sports, the podcast where the takes are bold and the receipts are permanent. I'm Isaiah, joined by my co-hosts Herb and Big Rob. We've got a loaded episode for you today. First, we'll dive into a wild NBA draft night where Cooper Flagg made history as the first white American drafted first overall since 1977, and somehow had 3 of his high school teammates hear their names called as well. We'll break down the biggest winners and losers from draft night, including why Phoenix and Charlotte came out on top, and ask the question, what in the world were the Brooklyn Nets doing? Then it's time to talk NBA offseason chaos. Damian Lillard waived and bought out by the Bucks. Shea locking in the richest contract in NBA history, and major moves from stars like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Clint Capella. We'll tell you which teams are cooking and which teams should just shut it down already. After that, we pivot to the NFL, where the Dolphins and Steelers pulled off a blockbuster swap. Darren Waller came out of retirement and okay, fellas, I think the first place we got to start is our little NBA draft recap. Obviously, the thing I want to touch on before we dive super deep into it, I just have to call out Cooper Flagg, obviously going first overall. First white American to be drafted first overall since. Rob, you want to take a guess?
That's pretty specific. White American not going number 1 overall.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
Minute.
I don't keep track of that in my household.
Throw something out there.
Give us a year.
I'm saying mid-90s.
Oh,
1977.
That is a crazy stat line. That's kind of an insane stat.
So just so everybody knows, white boys are on the come up. Watch out.
Wow. Pause. Time out.
Watch out, folks.
Listen. The European white dudes are on the come up. Okay, American-born white dudes.
Let us have this moment, Herb.
It is not our time to shine right now, Isaiah. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
It definitely is. Got to take these opportunities when they come. They're few and far between, as we can tell.
This thing got off the rails early.
The other stat or thing I wanted to call out with the draft, but Cooper Flagg related as well. So in addition to Flagg being drafted first overall, he had 2 Duke teammates drafted in the top 10. That's the 3rd time that's happened in Duke's history. And then he also had 3 of his high school teammates drafted in the first round. So if you guys didn't know, he played on a college team at Mount Verde Academy with Derek Queen, Asa Noel, and Liam McNeely. And then I guess the 5th starter on that championship team, which I believe didn't lose a game their senior year, went back to college and transferred and made a shit ton of money, and he's going to be a first-round pick next year. So I just thought that was incredibly ridiculous, and I'm trying to imagine that high school team taking on other high school teams.
Bro, you're acting like it's Edina High School in Edina, Minnesota. Bro, kids were playing at a prep school. These kids were all recruited and paid to be there. that does nothing for me. I don't know about you, Rob, but I mean, they played at one of the biggest. It's really not when it's IMG or Mount Verde or whatever.
If it's an academy or a private school, I agree with Herb. If it's like homegrown,
hey, Ames High, baby, the little clone.
Chino Hills.
Ames High School is one of them, obviously with McDermott and Harrison Barnes. But yeah, it's to find it homegrown is very few and far between, especially with all these academies and obviously IMG and stuff like that doing the recruiting.
Bro, and like Chino Hills, I'll give you, Isaiah, because like at least Chino Hills is a public high school, if I'm not mistaken. So like, yeah, they have your everyday kid, but they also have obviously a lot of celebrities and things live in that area. But dude, this is a prep school. This is a junior college team. I don't feel any type of way These are teams that can compete in the MVC, for God's sakes, Isaiah. I mean, these are talented high schools.
I was just throwing out the fact, and I thought it was cool. Okay.
No, I'm not ragging on you. I just,
No, you're definitely ragging.
that does
Cool.
nothing. It does
Definitely
nothing
not cool. I should
for
not
me.
have brought it up.
I mean, it's similar to being like, yeah, Alabama had 5 first rounders. Yeah, no shit, it's Alabama. You know what I mean?
Talking about football, that's way different.
Well, yes, I'm talking about pipelines to the league. A prep academy like that is a pipeline to the league.
Okay. I'm just gonna move on from Cooper Flag. Shout out white boys. Fellas, what are your guys' biggest takeaways from the draft? Or biggest, what was the thing that's still standing top of mind from draft night?
All right, I'll go.
Ahead.
Hey, I called it. I fucking said it weeks ago. I made it public last week, the night before the draft. And guess what? Hanson motherfucking Yang, baby. Let's go. People are knocking it. People are hating it. Fuck the haters. Hanson Yang to the moon. Too bad he's stuck in Portland, but Hanson Yang to the moon.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is lack of action by some teams. I think there's some teams that either didn't have a pick or had a very late pick. I was hoping to see some action, either with player trades or just something. I know we saw some movement in the second round, but the lack of action you see out of some of these teams, obviously we all know the Rockets didn't have a pick. The Lakers didn't really make a splash. I mean, they still haven't made a splash really in free agency. I would say, yeah, just lack of action. I mean, wasn't expecting anything crazy going into the draft, as I mentioned in the last pod. That's kind of where I'm at. I just thought we would see the Nuggets or somebody try to add a piece.
And I think we all agreed, and we talked about on the last episode, was we all thought there was going to be crazy movement in the top 10. I thought we were going to see superstars traded. I know you guys did too. We saw hardly any of that early. That was a little shocking on my end. Like I thought Giannis, if he was going to move, it was going to be the night of the draft. I think if KD would have still been there, he would have been a draft day trade, and that might have triggered something. But obviously, he was not. So I think we were all hoping for it. I know you were, Rob. You were like, baby, let's see. We're seeing 5 trades in the top 10.
Yeah, I think for me, same thing with the free agency the last day and a half is I enjoy stories, man. I like seeing some moves, some excitement, especially from a fandom standpoint. Even if it's not the Suns in it, I like seeing, stories come together. I mean, we've seen a little bit of that, obviously, which we'll get into with some of this free agency, but the draft was the draft for me. Nothing kind of blew my socks off.
What about you, Isaiah? Other than being excited for white boys.
Hey, to follow up on that topic, I was going to call out the Charlotte Hornets, my hometown team. Well, I guess my transient hometown team. I felt like they had a really good draft. They got Rob's guy, Knipple from Duke. Then they got Flag's teammate, Liam McNeely, who I think has some potential.
Flip-flop that.
Liam McNeely.
Played at UConn?
Played at UConn, what'd I say?
You said he played with Cooper Flag. Knipple played
in
with
high school.
Oh, fair enough. Back to the Montverde bullshit.
Yeah,
all right.
We're back there.
I didn't know we circled back to that nonsense.
And then rounding out the white boy lineup, they got Ryan Kalkbrenner too. So I think they had a really good draft. I think Knipple slots in super well next to Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, depending if both of them can stay healthy. I think Knipple, now that I've been seeing him all over Charlotte sports media outlets, he has grown on me, and I think he is going to be a solid player. I think Charlotte in the East, potential dark horse. I'm not saying making it past the first round, but I definitely could see him challenging for a play-in spot, maybe 8 seed or something like that, which for Charlotte Hornet fans, they're probably salivating at the thought of it with how tragic that franchise has been in recent years. or I guess ever since moving back to Charlotte or renaming as the Hornets.
I think a callback that we got to mention too is something I was looking at during the draft was the Nets, right? Because they had those 4 or 5 first-round picks, and as Urban and I were following along, we thought they would, a team would bite and want one of those picks, whether for more picks down the line or player, whatever it is. But they said, hell no, we're taking all these picks. We're rebuilding the whole roster. So you got some teams that had 4 or 5 draft picks, and you got other teams that didn't have any.
And the thing that with that didn't make sense. They essentially drafted 3 players that are the same exact player, like Demon, the French kid, and I don't.
There you go. You guys sound it out, big fella. Now
Nolan, Traore, and Ben Seraph. They're all big guards that play good defense, can pass the ball very well with a shoddy 3-point shot. They're all like the same player. So I guess they took all 3 of them and hope one of them pans out. Kind of like the Wolves did when they took Rubio and Johnny Flynn back to back in the day.
Yeah, I think what the overwhelming theme that you see with a lot of these picks when you look at draft grades is the rawness to a lot of these players, with a lot of them being either 18, 19, 20 years old. So a lot of these teams are betting on the rawness of it and the talent there and hoping to shape it and develop it. But, that could either go south really quick, or that could obviously pan out, if you got a diamond in the late second round. But I think not seeing a lot of teams make moves to get more picks, as opposed to, we saw some teams trade up a few picks and things like that. But for the Nuggets and other teams did not try to get in the draft. I mean, I don't know if that tells you anything about the talent outside of the lottery. But I think you're just betting on. I think you're even with Portland with Herb's guy. I think with the Bulls pick, Herb. I think you're just betting on potential.
Don't start on that yet, because I'm gonna get hot about it. All right.
I think these teams are just betting on what they could be, and not what they are right now.
And I think the thing that we're seeing, in addition to the draft and what we're seeing in free agency now, is really the effects of the new salary cap and the aprons that were introduced. Because this is a whole new thing for everybody involved. And I think with the aprons making trades so much more difficult, with aggregating of contracts and what exceptions are available to each team. You rarely see draft picks traded 1 for 1. Usually they're included with players involved, and if they're not able to aggregate salaries, it makes it a lot trickier. In addition to that, Nets just were the only team with any actual salary cap, and they just didn't want to use it, which, in fairness, probably a smart move on their end.
Yeah, I think the salary cap played a huge role in what's been happening so far in the draft, in the offseason, so far with the free agency and the trades. Boston's a perfect example of that, right? We talked a little bit about that last week. Can I jump back to the Nets real quick? Can I? While I agree that they shouldn't have picked all 5 picks, and I think they definitely should have taken some different players than who they did if they were going to keep all 5. They're not going to be great next year, but I'm not necessarily angry about it. I don't love that they kept all 5 picks. That I have an issue with. But you got 2 potential starters out of those 5 picks. Igor's going to start day 1 at point guard. And potentially Danny Wolf could work his way, depending on Nick Claxton's ability on offense, could work his way into the starting lineup. He's certainly going to play. Danny Wolf is a baller. He is going to hoop. I have no doubt about that. I hate that he fell, but I don't hate where the Knicks are at right now, especially after the Michael Porter Jr. trade, which we'll obviously talk about in a little while here, but I don't hate it. I don't know why, but I don't hate it.
We definitely can hate it for the fact that they picked 3 players that are essentially the same player, and then
Yes.
on top of that, they reached on Demon where they drafted him.
Where'd they take him at?
That's
What
the
position?
consensus. They picked him at 8th. He was
he was projected 10 to 15, right?
Yeah, he was in the teens somewhere, and they could have gotten Malawak at 8 there.
Yeah.
I know Rob's very happy that he dropped down to his Suns at 10. I think there was better plug and play dudes that they could have put there.
They could have gone for more variety. That is absolutely correct.
Correct. Because, we live in that 3-and-D type era of the NBA.
I think it's ending, baby. I think it's coming to an end. The big man's back.
Not ending. No,
big
you're just going to start having 6'10" dudes playing out on the wing.
Yeah, they tried that. His name's Ben Simmons. He's one of the biggest busts in NBA history, who is somehow still getting paid by NBA teams.
Yeah, he plays really good defense.
I think if you're the Nets, I think they had 2 options: either get off some of those picks and get a bunch of picks the next couple of years. But I agree with Isaiah. I think the salary cap is affecting not only the draft, it's affecting free agency. We're seeing, to Herb's point about the centers, we're seeing a lot of teams go get their second center in this free agency deal. I think, we'll get into obviously free agency, but the salary cap is just the luxury tax and also the second apron is causing a lot of these deals to be, 2 years, $7 million. It's either really low or it's obviously in SGA's case really high. I just think we are going to see it. I think the NBA is shifting. I don't know what yet exactly, but I do think it is shifting to a certain extent.
Yep, gone are the era of having 3 max level players on your team sign for the max, and then just filling it with depth pieces on good value contracts. It's going to be maybe 1 max player, and then maybe 2 players that are kind of that next tier. I think it's still shaking out as to what those tiers are going to look like moving forward. And I'm curious to see if there are any tweaks that are made to this new salary cap system in the coming years, just based off what we are seeing currently. I am interested in that because a piece of me thinks that if it continues how we're seeing it play out right now, there will be changes of some sort. Obviously, it's not going to be going back to like the MLB where you can just have one team out there spending 3 times as much as another team with no repercussions. But
NBA teams, though, are going to figure out a way to finagle the cap. They just haven't figured it out yet. Because, Rob, are you with us? The salary cap is a what?
I don't know about the NBA. It's a fugazi in the NFL.
It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. It's a whatsy. It's a fucking woozy, baby. It's not real. They're going to figure out a way around it.
But I think it's still just going to hemorrhage the disparity between those big market teams and small market teams. Because obviously you have a dude like Steve Ballmer out there with the Clippers. He's going to be willing to go into the luxury tax and pay that bill for a good NBA team compared to the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies, for example, or the New Orleans Pelicans, right? Those teams are going to do everything in their power to not pay the luxury tax if they don't have to. So now you have a gap of $100 million between these 2 teams.
But if Ballmer's willing to pay it, then what's to stop him from just signing 4 Supermaxes and saying, fuck it, I got the money? And then you have Memphis, who's like, we can afford a Supermax, and even that, we're going to turn off half the lights.
That's what I'm saying. It's just.
I think the second apron, though, prevents a lot of that because then it hinders their future drafts. It hinders a lot of different things as opposed to just maxing out contracts. I think the second apron kind of prevents all that. I mean, unless you go all in and hinder it. But
these guys are multi-million, if not billion-dollar businessmen. They're going to find a way around this thing, man. They're going to. I don't think we're going to see some Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout type, Mahomes type contract in the NBA anytime soon, but they're going to find a way around it.
The other thing in the draft that I feel like we have to bring up is what the fuck was up with Ace Bailey this entire process. I know we talked about it last week's episode, and then we get to draft night, and you have reports saying that he wants to go to. He's essentially only wanted to go to, I think it was Washington and Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken, because they thought that would be the best place for him to maximize his potential pay in the future because he would have a prime opportunity for playing time right off the bat. Um, Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz heard that at number 5, said, I don't think so, and took him. He was the best player available, dropping down to 5. And then you have the reports saying he didn't want to be drafted there. Then you have Walter Clayton Jr. fly out to Utah, like all first-round picks do, the next day so they can do their press conference. Ace Bailey doesn't join them for that, so now they're thinking that he's going to hold out. Then he shows up in Utah all of a sudden, I think it was yesterday, and he was posted a couple times on their social media. It looked like he was being held hostage. How do you guys feel about that? A dude, an 18-year-old kid like this, trying to dictate where he gets to play basketball professionally.
I mean, for me, I think we've seen it. I mean, it goes back to Eli Manning, and I mean, we've seen it in sports. We can't act like this kind of stuff doesn't happen, prior. But I put a little bit of blame on the Jazz to not just Bailey, because obviously Bailey declined to work out for the Jazz. He was one of the teams he declined to work out for. And you still were like, fuck it, we're still drafting him. I mean, that's at some point you got to take a little responsibility. If he declined to work out for you and he's not, maybe he doesn't have all the things you want from I guess his charisma and personality, then you still drafted him. It seems like he was out working out in the gym with the Jazz. Everything seems good, but I put a little bit on the Jazz. But I mean, it's not anything we've seen. I mean, we've seen this in years prior with other leagues and things like that. But it's unfortunate because he was projected to be a top 3 pick, and obviously with the height thing and other stuff, it obviously dropped him a little bit.
Dude, I agree that, Danny Ainge did this to themselves by drafting him after a player declined to work out. I'll give you about 10% of the blame on Danny Ainge and the Jazz for this one. 90% of this is all Ace Bailey's fault. He's not good enough to demand this kind of whatever the hell you want to call it, to be honest with you. He's just not. He's not good enough. I don't get where – no, I do get where these kids – and I'm going to call them kids because some of them are kids. I don't get where these kids are coming from. You look at a guy like VJ Edgecombe. He's in tears, right? Talked about how they lived off a generator and his mom did everything that she could. And, he made it. Dude, that's what NBA fans want to see. They don't want to see some prima donna who grew up in the prep program, who has been, no doubt he has worked for what he's gotten, but he has been streamlined to the NBA. And then you're going to throw a hissy fit because you're going to Utah? Dude, if I'm the Jazz, I don't want any part of this. They did this to themselves, but I'm hoping guys like Lauri Markkanen and John Collins and Jordan Clarkson can get into this kid and get him right. Just fuck, I can't stand Ace Bailey. I said he's a bust last week. I still think he's a bust. Have fun in the G League because you're ass at basketball right now, and you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, I just thought it was – I don't know. It was just – you have these kids, to be a professional athlete, right? You grow up as a young kid, and that's, your dream to get there. You put all this blood, sweat, and tears into this craft over 18 years, and you finally get the opportunity, and now you're going to be like, well, but not for that team or for that team.
You're playing in the NBA.
Exactly. It almost feels like he's ungrateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, I kind of see it from both. I don't know how much the media puts a spin on it either, because when he showed up at Utah, I think the media asked him, how do you feel? And he was, I feel blessed to be here and all this other stuff. I don't know if that's obviously someone in his camp giving him media training, but I'm not out on him yet, man. I look at it, bro. He got drafted to the fucking Utah Jazz as well. Let's not act like he got drafted to the Lakers by any means.
Also, I don't know if you guys had seen the clip of his agent. He looked like a straight up pimp. Like he was just pimping out Ace Bailey.
Isn't it like Keontae George's dad or something like that?
I have
It's
no
somebody's
idea,
dad.
but he looked like, I don't even know the best way to describe him. He looks shady as shit, though.
I thought it was somebody's dad, but it's not. It's Omar Cooper. I'm not sure who Omar Cooper is,
and he
but
was trying to get have people pay him to do like interviews and stuff.
yeah, which is nuts.
Yeah, not the best agent choice there from the kid.
I mean, it just speaks to, I think, what Ace Bailey's all about, and that's clearly not being a professional basketball player. So,
yep. Okay. Finish off NBA draft. Are there any other winners or losers you guys want to call out? I do want to make a point of calling out the fucking New Orleans Pelicans for making a god awful trade to get Derek Queen. By giving up their next year's unprotected first round pick when they are going to be dog shit.
It was a real bad pick. It was a real bad pick.
That pick's probably going to be top 5, honestly. And they gave that up for Derek Queen, who makes 0% sense next to Zion. They're essentially the same type of player, except Zion, when he's not fat as shit, can jump higher. So
I would probably put Derek Queen's shooting ability from the mid-range and long range over Zion's, to be honest with you.
Okay, but it's not by a large margin by any means. It's largely the same player, and they traded a top 5 pick next year, essentially, for him.
Can I go off for a moment?
Yeah, go off.
That pick should have never been allowed to happen. It should have never been allowed to happen. Do you know why, guys? Do you know why that pick should have never been allowed to happen?
I know exactly what you're going to say. So why don't you let the listeners know?
Because the biggest fucking losers in this draft call the city of Chicago home. The Chicago Bulls fucked this thing up 7 ways to Sunday, dude. I am... What did I say? If Derek Queen is there, take him. You need him. Take him. And we passed. I don't care what you have to say about Derek Queen defensively. There are things that can get better. The effort and energy are there. I think he's going to be coachable. I don't think he's ever going to be a defensive superstar, but I think he's going to be a really, really solid scoring 4 or 5. And we passed on him. And you know who we passed on him for, Rob? A guy that you were kind of high on for the Suns, which it made a little sense. But what's his name, Rob?
Is it Noah?
It's Noah Essengay. Yeah, it's Noah Essengay. Second youngest player in the draft. He is 6'10" and under 200 pounds.
That screams potential. You were just giving Chet Holmgren his flowers a couple weeks ago.
That is true. Chet is built like a fucking toothpick, brother.
I bet you Chet over 200. I bet you Chet's over 200.
Coming out of the draft? I don't know about that.
Correct, but I wasn't giving him his flowers then. I was giving him his flowers now. But it would be different because everyone's like, oh, it's a KD sleeper build, bro. Like, that could be the play. Too bad he doesn't fucking play like KD. He averaged like 6 points in, I think it's the Spanish league. One of the leagues over there. 6 points. And here's an interesting story, fellas. Here it is. Okay? I don't know if it's true. I've looked into it. It seems like it is. Noah Essengay is playing for his home club in, I'm fairly certain it's the Spanish league, in the championship game. He left in the middle of the game to catch a flight to go to the NBA Combine.
I thought it was to the draft.
No, I'm fairly certain it was to the Combine to go through the process. I don't know how to feel about that as a fan. I don't love it. But boy, did we screw the pooch on this one. It makes no sense. We already have a dude who was a rookie last year who does the same fucking thing that SNG does. On top of not moving any, I tell you what, I said it to both of you privately. I'm going to put it out here. I am seriously reconsidering my fandom after 32 years of being a Chicago Bulls fan. I am seriously reconsidering my fandom and may very well be in the open market to become an NBA fan of a different franchise.
Do you have one top of mind?
No, I don't. Anyone who's not the Bulls at this point, because I'm so sick of this shit. And the fan base is too. Nobody's thrilled about what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's rough. I mean, I think I agree with Isaiah, though. The biggest loser is when I was going through draft grades, because I like to see where I'm at as far as, what I thought was kind of crazy. And Isaiah is right. The Pelicans I think that in a lot of draft grades, they got an F for not only taking Derek Queen, but 2, moving up to do it. Because there's a lot of rumors going into draft night that Patrick Queen could slip into the 20s, late first round, depending on how the draft shaked out. So, and plus the Pelicans offseason moves, which obviously we'll get into free agency. I don't know what the fuck the Pelicans are doing as a team, as a whole. But I would say, I think they're the biggest losers. I don't know if you guys want to touch on your team. Obviously, Herb touched on his team. I mean, my Suns, I think, had a very above average and very good draft for what we were looking at going into it. I think we, got 2 centers. We got a wing player, and then we got old boy out of Kentucky. Why am I dropping the name? Or fuck.
You got Fleming, I know, from St. Joe's.
Oh, Kobe Brea.
Yeah,
some fan.
Yeah, which Herb doesn't like to put it on record, but I predicted that pick about 12 picks before it happened. Overall, I think the Suns had a very good draft. I think they've kind of, it could have gone south very quick, but I think Malak kind of fell to them. They obviously went and got the center from the Hornets via trade, which obviously we'll see how that pans out. But if I'm a Suns fan right now, I'd probably, obviously the Booker's going to re-sign here in a minute, and it might take over that average per year that SGA got. But
hey, are the rumors true on that? 2 years, 150 million, or was that just bullshit?
It's going to be right around 2 years, 74, 75 million. Yeah,
extension. A year?
Yeah, SGA's is like 72, I think, right? 73.
But hold on, Booker is going to get 75 million a year.
Extension, correct?
But no, I don't care if it's an extension. At some point in time, you are going to pay Devin Booker $75 million to play basketball.
Yeah,
correct.
At least SGA got you a couple MVPs and a ring. For fuck's sake, $75 million.
That's the NBA salary cap for you, baby.
I'm not saying he's not good, Rob, but $75 million. Holy shit.
It's the going rate for a Supermax. Can't be mad at them. Can't be mad at him.
No, I'm not mad at Book. Get your bag.
Okay, fellas. Well, let's jump into the NBA offseason news, because goddamn, do we got some stuff to talk about.
Dude, it's been a wild 48 hours.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you.
The news of the day.
Yeah, that's the news that I'm most interested about. The Bucks make one of the boldest moves in recent history by choosing to waive Damian Lillard and the remaining $113 million left on his contract, so then they could make space to sign Miles Turner from division rival Indiana Pacers for 4 years, $107 million. So for you gents, if you that are not aware, may not be aware. So that $113 million contract buyout, they're going to spread it across 5 years, so it comes out to a little bit over $20-ish million per year. And you stack that on top of Miles Turner's new contract, paying him about $25 million a year. They essentially are paying Miles Turner what they're paying Giannis combined between the buyout and his new contract, which is pretty wild to me. The other fun fact is the previous record buyout in NBA history was back in 1999 when the Bulls bought out the remaining $31 million of some dude by the name of Bison Dealey. So
no fucking clue.
That is
no goddamn idea who that is.
About 3.5 times. Lillard's buyout was about 3.5 times the previous high.
Yeah.
And to top that, I don't even know if it makes the Bucks any better.
Yeah, I don't. I like the Bucks, what they're doing out this wave. For me, you're going to pay a guy for the next 5 years to not play basketball for your team. And not only that, but you're going to be paying him 20-something million a year to do so. There are reports that Giannis isn't very happy. Obviously, I don't know the validity of those reports, but I've seen some good sources on Twitter talking about how Giannis either wasn't very happy or wasn't made aware of it, which I wouldn't imagine he'd be very happy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't understand. It's just a weird NBA move to not try to find a trade destination for him or get something in return. You're just going to be like, waive him, which means he can go play for another team, but he's also going to be being paid by you for the next 5 years. I mean, I don't care if you needed to get the Miles Turner trade down. I don't know if that was the way to do it, man. And again, obviously he's going through rehab and all that stuff. It's unfortunate.
In fairness, I don't think any team was going to be giving them anything for.
No, I think it's also
that's going to be out all of next season and then owed $113 million.
Yeah, we talked about it before with NFL, and when these contracts start getting crazy, we see a little bounce back, a little repercussions to some of those. And obviously you see it in the NFL, and you're kind of seeing it in the NBA. Now, to this extent, waiving a player is kind of crazy. If he can make the same, on the bench as you are, it's just whatever. But I think we're going to see some bounce back, right? We're going to see some signings that didn't make sense, and I think Lillard made sense, obviously, at the time. They won the NBA Cup, baby. Those of you that don't know, that's the midseason tournament. And I think it didn't do Giannis justice. Giannis obviously could have, pushed more for that trade, but everything I read said he wanted to stay with the Bucks and be loyal and all this stuff. And he was so happy when Lillard got there. I get you went and got Miles Turner, but you're backfilling for Brook Lopez leaving. So it's not like it's just some crazy addition to an already stacked team. You lost Brook Lopez as well, which I know he's older, and Miles Turner might be an upgrade in most areas, but Damian Lillard's Damian Lillard, baby.
And
I just don't get how they didn't fit. They didn't gel together better. I felt like they were perfect for each other.
Coaching. That's the issue in Milwaukee's coaching.
Doc Rivers, baby.
I'm not going to put a whole lot of I think NBA coaching is a fugazi. I don't think they're really doing a whole lot.
Tell that to Greg Popovich.
Oh, yeah, not to the 3 Hall of Famers that were playing for him at once.
Hold on. Are we putting a pause on NBA offseason?
Are you talking shit on Greg Popovich?
Are you
that right?
invalidating Greg? Isaiah, you're going to get flamed for this, and we are absolutely clipping this. Did you just say that Popovich's success was only because he had 3 Hall of Famers?
No, you literally just put that into my mouth. But to say
I'm not going to lie, that's what I heard as well.
That was the entire reason that they won those championships was because of him. It's not factual at all.
I don't know what to say. Isaiah.
I mean, do you not?
Is he the one out there making the shots, making the passes, playing the defense? He
so
might
you're
put him
telling
in
me
the right
Phil Jackson,
spot every once in a while. What
Are
do
you
you?
telling me
It's not
Phil
like every
Jackson?
possession he can be like, "Hey, make sure you're."
So
Like,
you're telling me that
it's a flowing game.
Phil Jackson, we need to invalidate all his rings because he had
I'm not
Michael.
saying invalidate them.
Yeah, kind of.
That's what you're saying.
Phil Jack, bro.
I mean, that's you're going to get flamed for this. Greg Popovich might be the greatest basketball coach to ever coach any level
and
of basketball ever.
I'm not disagreeing that, but I don't think coaches they tend to be the scapegoat more often than not because their players aren't playing well.
I think that's correct to a certain degree, but I think Popovich. I don't think Manu Ginobili is Manu Ginobili without Popovich.
I don't think Tony Parker is Tony Parker.
I don't think Tony Parker has an NBA career
without
to that extent without Popovich.
I mean, Tim was about the only one who was like, "That's a Hall of Famer day one."
You guys
But
also
even
make it seem like they didn't have an entire coaching staff that was one of the most respected in the league. That were all
who the fuck do you think managed and put together that coaching staff?
Popovich is known as one of the best. I mean, he's up there with Coach K, bro. He's just the respect from players and everybody is just crazy. Now, Doc Rivers, on the other hand,
don't speak it in the same breath, please, because they're not on the same level.
I think Popovich is up there with obviously with Phil Jackson and the likes of those guys.
John Wooden, Phil Knight. Like I mean, wow. All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let me get us back on track. I got us off track there a little. My bad, but let me talk to you about these Milwaukee Bucks. Here's what I don't love is the fact that you lost 2 starters and a significant role player who was playing 15 to 18 minutes a game, and you replaced it with 1 starter, and that's Miles Turner. I don't hate that they went out and got Miles Turner. Like, good for you guys, but you lost Brook Lopez, you lost Damian Lillard, you lose Pat Connaughton, and you replace him with guys like Bobby Portis and Gary Trent. I tell you what, the Milwaukee Bucks must have a lot of faith out of the former UNI Panther, A.J. Green, because as I look at their roster right now, A.J. Green is going to be trotting out there at the 2 spot game 1. Honestly, he should probably be running point and let Kevin Porter run the 2, but they'll probably flip-flop it.
Yeah, I outside of the Lillard thing, I was thinking that the Bucks were. I mean, getting Kevin Porter back, you got Bobby Portis back, sure. Torian Prince back, sure.
You signed Gary Trent to be a starter for you,
re-signed him.
Yes, but right now, when you look at their depth chart, you got Kuzma, Gary Trent, and Kevin Porter starting, which I would imagine would not be on your wish list. I'm not saying that they're not going to make more moves or things like that, but I have to imagine when Giannis went into this offseason, he didn't think that was going to be the case. Now, I'm not saying that those guys aren't good NBA basketball players or can get great minutes. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying from a starting rotation, it just doesn't. Did the Bucks go out and get better? I do think the Damian Lillard trade or the Damian Lillard getting waived definitely just dropped that bar down just because it doesn't make a lot of sense. I did read the Connaughton thing. It was almost like a cap play of some sort to where the player they got in return, which is like Milicic or something like that, they're not even going to keep him. It sounded like he was going back to Europe. So it was trying to like get him off the books kind of thing. But yeah, I don't get the Bucks are gonna Bucks, bro.
Yeah, they're spinning in place, it sure feels like. And Giannis is like, man, maybe I really, really do need to get out of this place.
Oh, you know who's going to be the perfect addition to that team to put the bow on this offseason? Chris Paul. They're going to play point guard.
Why not? Although I think the Lakers are going to make a real hard play for Chris Paul. But.
Probably. But if there was a team that made sense outside of his best friend in the Lakers.
If I'm a team that's I do like Chris Paul a lot, obviously. And I told Irv about this the other night. If I'm a team and I'm wanting to bring in Chris Paul, bring it into some youth. Have him do what he did with the Spurs, with OKC, and just trying to coach up that young team. But if otherwise, I could see him wanting to obviously get a ring. And I don't know if the Lakers. I don't think LeBron knows if the Lakers are the spot to do that at this point. Because the Lakers, Rob Pelinka is not doing jack shit at the present moment. But I hope Chris Paul. I hope he doesn't ring chase. I want him to get a ring, but I hope he. I think he enjoys mentoring these young guys.
Okay, so going from the Bucks news, do we want to jump to probably the Denver-Brooklyn trade is the most logical next step. So Cameron Johnson finally gets traded from the Nets, the last, I would say, tradable asset that the Nets had. He's been on the market for a good year and a half now, essentially ever since he's been in Brooklyn. But for him to go to Denver for Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first round pick was not what I had on my bingo card at all. That is, the Nuggets made out like absolute fucking bandits in this trade. It is unreal how, like, I know they have Jokic's window that they are trying to compete in right now, but this seems like a lot. Like, that 2032 first round pick could be really, really good because Jokic will be what? Damn near 40 at that point?
He'll be done by then.
Yeah. Like, they could be bad by then.
Yeah, I think for me, this trade, I think it makes sense for both because I think both players, and I could be wrong, but I think both players are going into a contract year. So both of them are needing an extension at some point. Now, I don't know when that comes. But the Nuggets, I think it makes sense because, when you're looking at Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon, whenever they would lose a game, for some reason, either one of those guys would catch the slack. Obviously, Jokic was most likely playing out of his mind during that time frame. But for the Nuggets, it just makes the most sense. And I think, to a certain degree, I don't think the Nuggets I think the Nuggets bring in Cam Johnson, who is, youthful, young, can play, can start, obviously. And what did they do? They also brought in Valanciunas, which we talked about it earlier, but these teams going to making sure they have a good, vital backup center that can handle some minutes. So I like this for the Nuggets. I would like to see him make another play or two. I am confused from it from a Nets standpoint, unless obviously Michael Porter is, I think, 26 or 27. But I might be. Doesn't he have that? He had that back issue, right? The back surgery
since college, dude.
Every type of issue.
Yeah. So now, if he all of a sudden goes on a health run and is good, I don't foresee that happening. But either way, both these dudes are going to need some contracts. But I think for both teams, it makes sense to a certain degree. I think when you look back on it in a couple of years, it's not going to. I don't think we're going to say one team won the trade over the other. I think it benefits both sides.
Unless the Nuggets can win another championship.
But I think I agree with you, Isaiah. But I think a year from now, we will know who won or lost this trade based on who re-signs their guy. I think that's truly going to be the mark of who won this thing. Because there's a real good chance that Michael Porter
2032 first round pick ends up being.
I mean, we're talking 7 years from now. Yeah, I get it, but I think we are going to be able to tell because I think Cam Johnson is far more likely to re-sign in Denver than Michael Porter Jr. is to re-sign in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think Michael Porter's career might be on the downward arc at this point.
Probably, unfortunately, and he's going to have to burden the load that is the Brooklyn Nets by himself, essentially.
How much time is he even going to get to play with all those first-round picks we talked about?
I think he's going to be a starter. He'll be the primary starter.
Yeah, obviously he's going.
You need to develop the kids.
They're not starting over Michael Porter Jr. You are full of fucking takes today, guy.
I'm not saying he's start, but he might not play as much.
Well, probably because his back's going to get hurt after the 5th game.
Probably.
I mean, the Nets as well, not that it does as much, but they did re-sign Sharp and Zaire Williams. And also, I don't know when that trade went through, but they also traded for Terrence Mann. But yeah, that 2032, whatever trade pick that is, I mean, for all we know, that pick is going to be involved in 6 different trades from now till then. The way these picks are shuffled around, I don't know. Good trade for both teams, I think.
I tell you what, I like the Nuggets. The Nuggets are clearly in a win now, and they recognize that Nikola is not going to play this game forever. I agree with you, Rob. I want to see another move, and I think it's probably a shooting guard, a role-playing shooting guard, to be honest with you.
Something I want to add, a fun fact I read when looking up stuff for the pod today is I think Jokic, during the playoffs, he was at or but right around the 40-minute mark for these playoff games.
It's too much.
We saw it. We know, obviously, he's effective when on the floor and things like that. But there's a time when, if you're 4 series deep in the playoffs and he played all season, there's a time where he needs some rest. And I think going in and getting Valanciunas is going to allow him to, come off the floor for a few minutes at a time. Obviously, in the playoffs, Jokic is probably going to get a little bit more, but I think they filled a vital need there. Because I think the only other. I think when I saw it said that the next center with the most minutes was DeAndre Jordan, and we already know, he's a locker room guy, just kind of sitting on the bench, so he's not getting vital minutes. So I think the Nuggets are in a win now mode. I think they're making the right plays, and we'll see how it plays out.
I love the Valanciunas pickup. Valanciunas could be probably a starting center for a handful of teams in the NBA right now that are really dying for a center. So for you to go get him, that only tells me that you're trying to be competitive and cut down on Jokic's minutes. Great pickup. Nuggets, let's hope they're back, huh?
But that 2032 pick, I'm just going to go back to it. That kid's in 6th or 7th grade right now. He could be a dog. Could be a prodigy. Just saying.
It could be the 30th overall pick in that round, okay? We don't.
Some of these guys that were drafted first round, like Herb's guy, played 6 minutes in EuroLeague ball. So I don't.
Hey, listen. We touched on it. We get it. You don't get to say anything. I get to say something.
I'm just saying we can't put
don't get to say a goddamn
his
word
first round pick.
Unbelievable. I mean, just the disrespect.
Do you guys want me to touch on the extensions, or do you want me to speed run some transactions?
You got the 2 big max contracts that we got to talk about those because they're big.
So what Herb is referencing is you got SGA signing the richest contract in NBA history. 5 years, $285 million, 285 big ones. Comes out to like $57 million a year, which actually, based off that extension Booker's going to sign here shortly, seems like an absolute steal.
Yeah.
And then you got Jaren Jackson Jr. down there in Motown. Gets a 5-year, $240 million extension now that Desmond Bane's gone. So still don't really know what the Grizzlies are doing, but here we are.
Good for Jaren Jackson. I wish they would have let him walk. Go get your bag, but your career, I mean, you're not winning games, dude, unfortunately.
Sorry, 1 sec. 240 divided by 5, 40. So you're paying $48 million to a center or power forward?
Combo.
To average 6 rebounds a game.
How many points?
About 20 points.
There it is.
But I still think that's pretty wild when you have a dude that's that tall who has a Defensive Player of the Year trophy, nonetheless.
I mean, you guys gave Gobert almost $50 million a year, brother. He doesn't play any offense.
Hey, we're back, baby.
He plays 0.
How does it sneak into every episode?
Rudy alert, baby. We're on a Rudy alert.
Am I wrong, Herb? Am I wrong in that? Like we're talking.
You ain't wrong. They paid Rudy, brother.
Yeah, and he has 3 more Defensive Player of the Year trophies.
Yeah. Let's break it down though. So SGA, obviously, 4-year, 285. That's an average salary. I think it breaks down to $71 million per year.
Did I do my math wrong on that?
Yeah, it's almost $71.5 million a year is what it kind of breaks down to.
What I think
285 divided by 5 is. Oh, is it 4 years?
It's 4 year, 285.
Oh, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I
think he becomes a free agent in 2031. So
Before you start, I want to take back everything I said about that contract being a steal now. That is very,
Clip
very
it.
expected.
Clip it,
Yeah.
quote us, hit it.
Yeah, I think, for what he did this season in the last few years for not only the city, he won OKC their first championship. What are you going to do? I mean, I think they didn't have an option. I think it makes sense. MVP. I mean, I think he had the scoring title this year as well. I think regardless of what you think, 70 million is a lot of money. I mean, we have to understand the going rate that's going to be coming in the next few years. So I think it's the right move. I think the OKC is in a good spot. Obviously, they don't have any crazy contracts going on right now. So, why not pay your best player?
Also, there was no shot in hell that they weren't going to sign the 26-year-old reigning MVP to whatever dollar amount it ended up being. It could have been twice that amount, and they were going to pay that.
Yeah, I mean he's very clearly the face of the league now, so you got to pay him. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and then as far as Jaren Jackson, I don't know with the Desmond Bain, and obviously we talked about it, but Ja Morant doing what Ja Morant does. That team has definitely shifted from a lot of people had it as a dark horse in the NBA in the playoffs, I think 2 years ago or so. But I think his contract breaks down to $48 million a year for a guy that could win some more Defensive Player of the Years. Guy that's potentially averaging. The guy plays great defense, so it's a lot you can say about.
So when Rudy Gobert plays great defense, he doesn't deserve to get paid that much.
Have you seen Rudy Gobert try to catch a wide open pass underneath the basket?
I am just using your logic. That is all. Back to your Jaren Jackson take.
Then you got to use the logic in reverse, bro, because he can't touch a fucking basketball.
No, you were making it seem like because he plays good defense, $48 million is good. It's fine.
Yeah, but it comes with the other things that comes with it, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's an offensive mastermind, but if you're scoring 23 points a game plus playing defense and you're shooting the ball at, 50%, I'd love to see the rebounds a little bit higher. I think I agree with you on that, Isaiah. But for a guy that can play multiple, guard up a few positions, I'm not mad about it.
Hey, there's another contract that I wanna bring to the table because it got pretty fiery in the group chat.
Oh my god.
Nope, we're gonna
No,
talk about it. Nope.
wanna-
Shh. Let me hold you, baby girl. Let me hold you. Dorian Finney-Smith signed a 4-year.
Overpaid.
Hold on now. 4-year,
Overfucking
$53 million deal with the Houston Rockets,
Mm-hmm.
which averages out, we said 13.5, correct?
Correct.
So I'm going to sit back, grab my popcorn.
No, because you
And
did that
I
the
wanna
entire
hear-
last night when we were arguing back and forth in the group chat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I let that ride, baby.
Yeah,
I
so
let
it's
that
your time
ride.
It's your time to get in here.
No, sir.
We need
No,
the
sir.
judge.
I will judge. Hey, welcome to Don't Quote Us Court, baby. Welcome to it. We're here. All right?
Okay, so why are we in court today, Herb?
We're in court because Rob is defending that Dorian Finney-Smith is an overpaid, underqualified forward in the NBA, and that this contract seems a bit ridiculous. Whereas Isaiah thinks that $13.5 million is the going rate for a mid-level role player in the NBA.
Mid-level's a stretch. Go on.
So I would
my
like to
God.
hear. Okay, because Rob, you're defending. We're going to let Isaiah hit us first. Okay, so tell us about the Dorian Finney-Smith contract and why you believe there's value there.
Okay. So, like I have stated multiple times, and I think it is very clear in the NBA that championship teams now are carried by 3-and-D players. Obviously, you will have your star players on each of those teams, but it's those 3-and-D depth players that can kind of operate in the margins that will elevate a team from a contender to a championship team. And Dorian Finney-Smith has been one of the best players when it comes to that 3-and-D archetype in the last couple seasons. I think he's extremely similar to what PJ Tucker was when he was in the league, bouncing from contender to contender because he was exactly what every team thought they needed to get over that hump. The dude, Rob's going to say, point to his stats and how
Yeah, you can highlight him if you want.
he 8 points, 4 rebounds, and 3,
Mm-hmm.
and 1 assist. Doesn't
I have a deeper voice than that, bro.
It's whatever. And I think it just goes deeper than just the stats. It's the defensive capabilities where he maybe not as much now, but he is able to defend multiple positions. So he's versatile. So he can play in a lot of different lineups for Houston. And he is just a very solid 3-point shooter. The last 3 years specific, or no, just last year, he shot 41% from 3, which is, as we all know, very good. And 13.5 million, I threw out names into the group chat of other players getting paid around $13.5 million. Let's see how quickly I can find it real fast. Yeah. So other players in that similar pay range: Kelly Olynyk, Robert Williams, Brandon Clark, Josh Green, Grant Williams. I would, if those dudes are getting paid $13 million, I am more than fine paying Dorian Finney-Smith $13.5 million, especially on a team like Houston where you're pretty much championship or bust this season. So what the fuck does it matter?
All right.
Are you ready?
Okay. That was the prosecutor, not to the
All right.
defense.
To the defense, I'd like to bring the evidence to the stand, and we're gonna
Exhibit A.
We're gonna take a trip down memory lane here. So Dorian. Now, I do want to preface this as I don't mind the pick for Houston. I agree with Isaiah that I think this is a player that they kind of fills a need for them. I just don't agree with the price. Is kind of where we're at. And the reason being is we're going to say he's a power forward, aka small forward. He can play. He can guard multiple spots. I do agree with that. But let's take a trip down memory lane here, and see what old Finney-Smith has up his sleeve. So Dorian Finney-Smith, he does have no All-Stars. He has 0 All-Stars. He does, some say he does play defense, but he also has no All-NBA defensive teams.
What bench player is getting named to all NBA teams?
He's making $14 million a year. I'll get to that in a minute. Order in the court, Herb. Can we get some of this? All right. So based on, we go to, if we can take a trip down memory lane after we get through his stats here, and I do want to preface this as stats are stats. So we got 8.3 points per game. So if you're shooting threes, he's attempting 4 a game and he's making 1.5. Sure. You're getting 8.3 points out of him, and you're getting a total of 4.5 rebounds out of him. Not to mention, which I don't know if it has been mentioned yet, is this guy is 32 going on 33. And I do want to dive into some of his prior contracts to show what other teams felt.
Okay, that is apples to oranges.
That's part of the going rate, bro.
If
I'm selling a car, I'm going to look at other. If I'm selling a car, I'm going to look at other cars. Hold up. I'll get to other deals that happened today and yesterday that make for 2 years $5 million for a better player.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
So when we look at when most people recognize Finney-Smith, they remember him with the Mavs. As a young buck, he re-signed after his rookie deal. They gave him 3 years, $12 million for an average salary of $4 million a year. which they went ahead and extended him to back in 2022 to a 4-year, $55 million, which they immediately said, we're fucked with this deal. We got to get off of it. And then we saw him go to obviously Brooklyn, then to LA, and each team's kind of been biting the bullet on that contract. Now, as far as NBA free agencies, which this did happen before a lot of these moves did occur, so I do want to preface that for Isaiah's sake, but we can all admit that a lot of these deals that are coming through on Sham's ticker are definitely a lot less than that. And I do want to try to stick to forwards just because I understand it's a whole different aspect. But the biggest one I wanted to show was the guy who averages a little bit more points, a lot younger, is Trendon Watford. He's a free agent power forward. He signed a 2-year, $5.3 million deal with the 76ers. So they gave him a little $3 million deal. And as we go down here, we're seeing a lot of 1 year, we see forward Josh Minot, 2-year, $5 million. Unless you're some sort of a superstar, let's all admit that these deals that have come across the desk, looks like the Raptors signed a forward earlier, 2-year, $5.5 million. So we can all admit that this, I'm not mad with him taking him. I just don't. He's not going to be playing in 4 years. So you're either going to. I'm assuming that the contract's fully guaranteed.
Be playing in 4 years.
He's 33 years old.
Yeah,
and I'm objective.
And I did get some evidence across my desk from. I think Rich Paul, is that the name of the agent? You know, the guy that's Finney Smith is coming off a major ankle surgery, and he was telling the Lakers that he's also having knee issues. Now, I'm not putting a lot of thing behind that because I don't have physical evidence, but I did want it brought up in the court.
You know what they're saying about that, right?
Yeah, saying that you're paying a guy that's almost 35 years old $14 million.
The Lakers were telling other teams that to try and drive down his floor so they could re-sign him. Yes.
They don't want him. They don't want him, bro.
Oh.
Who wants him?
Clearly, Houston at the tune of $13.5 million a year for the next 4 years.
Yeah, if you take into account that last contract that he has signed, inflation-wise, that deal would be on average. What did I just say? Was it a 4-year contract? You said 4 years.
The extension, yeah.
$19.25 million in 2025 salary.
All right. So well, I mean, yeah, sure. But also you could have got a 23, 24-year-old forward for $2.5 million a year instead of paying a 34-year-old that has no accolades in the NBA.
That doesn't have same track record as Dorian.
What track record? What track record? No All-Stars, no All-NBA teams. What track record? This guy's resume says the teams he played for, and that's it.
Dude, you make it seem like bench players are just making All-NBA teams and All-Star games. I'm saying he's getting paid like an All-Star. You're making it seem like he's getting paid like one, though.
I'm saying it with the last 2 days of deals outside of SGA and Jaren Jackson, when you go down those lists of free agents that have signed,
Duncan Robinson got signed for 3 years, $48 million.
Duncan Robinson's also
$1 million.
He's also the career leader in 3-point with the Heat. The accolades are a little different here, brother.
And I'm fairly
We're talking about a guard.
Duncan Robinson has an All-NBA team.
No, he does not.
I thought he had that 1 year that he was just a freak.
No.
He had something that year, didn't he?
No.
Yeah, he has multiple years where he averaged almost 14 points a game. I mean, he's also the career leader in 3 points for the Heat. That already has more accolades than Dorian Finney-Smith, not to mention he's 3 years younger.
So you're counting those as accolades when I'm looking at his awards, which is what you're going off with Dorian Finney-Smith, and it both is a big goose egg.
What accolades does Finney-Smith have? Does he lead the Mavs in 3-point shooting?
He doesn't need to lead in anything to get paid an average bench salary in the NBA.
Isaiah,
dude's gonna
can
be
you pull up?
the dude's gonna be the second dude off the bench for a championship contender this year. $13.5 million is completely reasonable.
Overpaid.
Luke Cornett just got paid $10 million for doing what in Boston?
That is a good question. Luke Cornett that contract is questionable.
Like, I just don't know why $13.5 million is what you're freaking out about.
I'm not freaking out. I prefaced it with I liked the move. I just don't think. I think you could have went out and got a younger, because you have a young, pretty outside of KD, you have a pretty decent young team. I don't like the idea of plug and play and let's just try to make a run. If you could have went out and got, for instance, Trendon Nelson Watford for $2.5 million a year, he averages more. He averages more points. He shoots the same amount of threes. Like, you're acting like there's some
percentage on threes. Not going to mention the fact that he shot 33% from three, while Dorian Finney-Smith shot 41% and plays superior.
Finney-Smith makes 1 3-point a game. Why are we talking about his percentage?
Because that's what matters.
He makes 1 3 a game, bro. You're acting like he's shooting 8. If I go in and nail 1 out of 1 3, I'm 100%. We can't talk about this. He's not shooting the 3. Now, if you told me, like, if we want to talk about Booker's 3-point percentage or Edwards' 3-point percentage, if a guy is a 3 and D and he's shooting 1.23 or 1.4 threes a game,
he's not supposed to be the primary scorer when he's on the court. He is on the wing, and if the offense or the defense crunches in on whoever the star player is that has the ball and he gets the ball in the corner, then he shoots it. It's not like he's the one. It's not like he's the one.
Isaiah,
the
once
ball
a game.
Up.
Once a game, bro.
All right. Everybody feel like they got their points across?
No.
For better
for
or
anyone,
worse?
Still want to throw my head through
for anyone listening, I do encourage you to stroll through the free agent tracker and look at all of the forwards. Isaiah brought up Duncan Robinson. Sure, look up the guys that are 10 years younger, average more points per game, can develop into there's development there. There's a plan there. Finney-Smith, if you brought him in, if you would have gave me that same deal and said, hey, they re-signed him they got him on a 2-year, $7 million a year deal. They got him for $15 million, something like that. I would have been like, that's great. But you just promised $50 million to a guy that doesn't make sense. This deal, if it's either going to go really well and he's going to have 2 career years and you'll be like, okay, it paid off.
He doesn't need to have a career year for it to pay off.
So you just think everybody that if a guy shoots 1 3 a game and plays a little D, give him $15 million.
He is one of the best bench players in the NBA.
Okay, where's his 6th man of the year at?
Doesn't mean he's going to win a 6th.
All right, okay. Where's his running for the 6th man of the year?
Only good bench players that we compare are the ones that have won a 6th man of the year.
Isaiah, I brought up multiple people that are forwards that have more points per game. More points per game and play defense.
Dude, you look at the most
got a $2 million
stats. Like, that is what makes that's what we're supposed to be judging the player off of. Yeah, even your dog knows how dumb it sounds.
The dog knows it's great, bro.
Or change the topic. I'm gonna fucking blow my brain.
We need the resolution, bro.
So here's what it is. All right. While I'm not going to rule on a verdict today, I'm going to leave that to our fan base in the comments on this one, boys. But here's what I will say about Dorian Finney-Smith. Do I understand that the going rate for a 6 or 7 man is about that 10 to 13 million range? Yes, I do. I understand that when superstars are signing for $75 million a year extensions. Signing Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year contract when he is 32 years old seemed a bit egregious. The dollar value is high for me. I would have liked it at 10 or under. I get why Houston signed him. It makes sense for where they're at. But Isaiah, I will disagree with you on the fact that he is going to be the first guy off your bench because he might be the 3rd or 4th.
I'm saying for most teams.
So for this team, he will be the 3rd or 4th option.
And
PJ Tucker.
Hold on. Now is not the time for either one of you to speak. All right. You had your opportunities in front of this court. Okay. Whether you seized that opportunity or squandered it is between you and you. All right. But here's what I am going to say. Does he shoot 3-pointers well? Yeah. Does he take a lot of them? No, he doesn't. Defensively, Isaiah, you can answer on this one, but you seem to think he is a high-level 3-and-D player, obviously a bench player, but a high level, right? While team defenses did go up when he was on the court, his personal rating is above the league average rating, which is actually a negative thing in this situation. He's 32 years old. He is not spry. I don't know that he's going to contribute a lot, and you're paying a guy $13.5 million on the bench. These are the things I know.
So you're going to take his defensive rating from last year. I'm assuming you typed that in.
Well,
that was at 116.9.
Correct.
When he played for the Brooklyn Nets, who were a fucking dumpster
played
fire,
for the Lakers in the playoffs.
and the Lakers, who also had a god-awful defense with no center.
Correct. So his career average is 114, which is 4 points above the league average. So that was the statistic I was using. Going 1 to 116 last year was a bit of a blemish on his record, but I will take into consideration the teams that he was playing with. So no, his career average is worse than the league average.
I do want to add one little closing statement. I do like the move in general. If they would have got him cheaper, and part of the decision, and I do want to say for the fans listening, is all these other deals that came out weren't present when this came out. Which a lot of the deals do favor my side, so I do kind of like it. But I don't like the deal. I don't mind the deal. I like Finney Smith in that team. I just don't think you needed to give him 4 years and promise him $50 million. Doesn't make any sense. But when we haven't talked about the other moves the Rockets have made, which obviously is a lot of moves and a lot of good moves, but there is salary cap analysts that are talking about with them also bringing in Capella and the deals that are also going to Finney Smith. There's going to either be some sort of a luxury tax of some capacity, or there's going to be a cap casualty of some capacity. So if you could have gotten Finney Smith to $7 million a year and prevented something like that from happening, if it does happen, I don't know if it does. I just think it's a little reach, a little overpay.
I think they signed that fully willing to pay the luxury tax this year and next, while they
for no reason.
I will say about Houston, I like the Clint Capella contract a hell of a lot more than the Finney Smith one. Half the price, 1 year less, same age.
He's going to play half the minutes.
Well, now, yeah. I mean, but the Houston could figure out.
You're paying that dude as much. He may play 10 minutes a game. Okay, you're going to pay him $7 million to do it.
So I think he's going to probably play more than 10 minutes a game, because I see a world where Houston gets away or has the opportunity to get away from the small ball that we've been seeing, where they can run KD, Sagoon, and Steve Adams or Clint Capella to 5 and still be
Steve Adams.
More than likely, correct, but then he's going to need breaks and Sagoon's going to need breaks. And so
how often is your third center getting playing time?
See, and I'm thinking about him in more of a position of a more closer to a 2.5 more than a 3, if that makes any kind of sense. I don't know that he's going to play a crazy amount. 10 minutes, you might be right on, but I like the Capella contract a lot more than I like the Finney Smith contract. Capella's coming off the bench before Finney Smith if I'm Houston.
No. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
No. We just said he was the second and a half center on the team.
Correct, and Dorian Finney-Smith might be the 7th guy off that bench.
That can play Capella 4 different positions, depending on the lineup that they're using.
Sure. So I would play
one position.
Well, he can play 2, but
no, 1.
He can play the 4 if you needed.
No,
he has before.
He has no feet.
Okay. So I would play Clint Capella before I play Dorian Finney-Smith on that.
Okay. Well, that's not
Isaiah, you
counting.
got to put some respect on Clint Capella, brother.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Here, let's look at his counting stats from last year. He played 20 minutes a game and he averaged 9 points. He was not good.
So okay. So let's make this point because I'll defend Clint Capella against your whatever that is.
No, just
So
wait until the opening
no.
night.
Shut
and
the
we'll
fuck
see,
up for a
we'll
minute.
see
Just
where he
shut the
comes off
fuck
the
up for a
bench.
minute and let me talk, okay? So Clint Capella averaged 9 points a game, 8.5 boards, and shot 55%. Obviously, center that's going to skew that field goal percentage some. He only played 20 minutes, whereas Dorian Finney-Smith was playing almost 30 minutes a game last season and averaging less points, not by a lot, by point, half the rebounds, and half the assists. So that's why I'm playing Clint Capella before I'm playing Dorian Finney-Smith. So that being said, Houston Rockets sure look like the winner of this whole operation the entire offseason so far, huh?
Yeah, I think the Rockets are making the moves. I think they realize KD doesn't have 6 years to do it, right? So they're trying to figure it out and plug and play. And as of right now, I think them and the Bucks and the lack of moves on the other teams like the Lakers and things like that are kind of the talk of the town, at least as of right now.
Isaiah, who you got for winners?
I don't care. None of them. I know who a loser is, the NBA, because I remember when free agency used to be fun. It's not fun anymore.
What don't you think's fun about it?
There's no blockbusters anymore. It's
In terms of like big trades and superstar signings?
Yeah, with the apron and everything. And half these contracts, you know about them in advance because they're able to negotiate with their own team in advance. So you know if they're signing or not. And then it just slowly trickles on through. Whereas we used to get blockbuster deals like the day of free agency opening.
To Isaiah's point, I think that the apron and things like this have prevented some of these teams from making that leap of faith. For instance, people are saying the Knicks, right? The Knicks were deep in the playoffs last year. Like, let them go get a piece. And what have they done? Jack shit. They wouldn't got Jordan Clarkson, which I don't mind, but outside of that, teams like that, I mean, we're seeing a lack of moves for some of these teams, and then we're seeing a lot of moves and a lot of filling the gaps on some of these other teams.
I do think teams that felt like they were a piece away, a lot of the teams, I won't say all of them, but a lot of the teams that were a piece away, like your Knicks, didn't do enough. Didn't do enough.
You know who didn't do enough? The Lakers.
Lakers are fucking treading water. We got to touch on that because all the reports are is LeBron wants to contend. LeBron wants to contend. He opted into his player option, but he wants to contend. AKA Rob Pelinka is his name, correct?
Yep.
He has to go make some sort of moves. I get you have Luka. I get it. But you didn't do jack shit in the draft, and you have yet to do anything worth noting so far. So if you didn't have a good enough team to make a contention last year, LeBron's gotten older. Obviously, Luka can come in shape and work on his defense and be a little bit better in certain areas, sure. What about those other gaps? What about a center? Because I know I think they could go out and get DeAndre Ayton. I think it just makes sense for how the Lakers sign centers like that. I know Herb, you were saying that there was Brooke Lopez might have went there, but there's been multiple centers signed in free agency, and the Lakers haven't even thought of to, even if it's not a starter, go out and get somebody for a depth piece. Valanciunas, a Brooke Lopez, anybody of that caliber. There's just either they're planning something crazy or they're just not going to fucking do anything. But I'm seeing posts of people saying, "Where's LeBron going to play?" Because if they don't build a contention team, then he wants to go to somebody that can contend.
Okay, LeBron can go and get bent. Dude's going to be 41 years old. They are not building the team around him moving forward. They're building it around Luka, and LeBron just happens to play there at this point.
I don't think LeBron just happens to play it anywhere. I think LeBron being there is big.
The days where he was able to dictate who the team signed and went after are long gone. He does not have the right to be doing that, dictating that at 41 years old. Hey, mortgage your future so I can go try and win one more championship. What if Rob Pelinka bends the knee to that? Get the fuck out of here! Like, you're just not a good GM at that point.
And
I don't think you're just asking him to get better, and I don't think that's asking Rob Pelinka much. I mean, you see all these other teams getting better.
The salary cap. There's only so much they can do feasibly.
They did shoot themselves in the foot to this point. Like, they knew this was coming after
Especially
the Luka
with
trade.
LeBron
They knew.
opting back into that contract. Like, there was talks that he was going to take a decrease, like he was going to opt out, sign for less money so they could go and make moves so they could get better, and he didn't. He re-opted in at $53 million, and now they're kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, Isaiah. The days of like the GM meeting with LeBron saying, "Who do you want?" are probably over. I think they are still curtailing that team towards what LeBron wants, and I think LeBron has taken some control by opting in on that.
Yes, it's not like they're just not taking his insight at all, but they're not going to be like going for they're not. Well, they don't have first round picks to trade anymore. But
correct.
It's not like, even if they did, I don't think they're going to be throwing those out to teams to get some mid player to try and help them this year.
And I know the Buss family is still involved in running the Lakers, but with the sale of the Lakers, that may change some of the mentality and culture. I don't want to say culture because it's Lakers culture, but the mentality at which Rob Pelinka has to do his job moving forward. I've got a guy, Rob. I've got a center I'd like to sell the LA Lakers. Cheap, too. Real cheap. Super cheap. Super cheap. Not a 26 first rounder, but the 27 first rounder if you have it. If not, we'll take the 28 first rounder.
I don't think the Lakers have a first rounder until 2050, bro.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'll take it. Listen, because we can't – the Bulls moved so many pieces in the last 12 months and got no first-round returns.
What makes you think that Nikola Vucevic is worth a first-round pick?
Oh, somebody's going to give us a future first for that guy.
Remind me what you got for Zach LaVine.
And Alex Caruso and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, no, I just said it. You're not flaming me. I'm the one who just said that fact. Okay? But if we can move Vooch, I don't care if it's a 32 first-round pick at this point. I appreciate what Vooch has done. It is time to be done in Chicago. The Lakers love an offensive-minded center who's a little bit older. He's all you, baby. Give me the 32 first-rounder, and let's get this thing done. Somebody call Rob Pelinka right now.
I just think the Lakers' mentality, and always has been, is they love – and they're a winning franchise. They want to be in the running. So if you're not going to, do something this year, obviously, I think as far as I know, they haven't re-signed Austin Reeves to a deal, and he wants a pretty decent-sized deal. So you have that looming over your head.
Didn't he just turn down, what was it, like $80 million over 4 years or something?
Yeah, I think it was 20-ish million a year. He wants a little bit more. And then to Isaiah's point of first rounds, it gets a little dim. I mean, they have some in the 2030s, but, the next couple of years, I think it's every other year type thing. So when you're thinking of building around Luka, I mean, I don't know what they do.
They have a 2028 first rounder. Rob Pelinka, pick up my call. Please.
Vucevic is going to be 38 by then, brother. He's not going to answer your call.
Well, fine, I'll take the 2030. I don't care. Please give us a future first for Vooch. Your club needs it.
Buddy, you're lucky if you can find somebody. You're lucky if you don't have to give a first rounder for somebody to take him.
God, I really hope that doesn't happen.
I think I honestly, if we're being honest with ourselves, I don't know what his contract is, but if you guys did move him, you think you're going to get more than what you got for Zach LaVine?
Well, we owe him $30 million this year, so
you're you're going to have a guy. If you were to move him, you're going to have a team take part of that contract over, and then you're going to move him for a
That's not
second
me.
pick.
20 mil. Hey, Rob, pick up the phone. Listen, you were willing to pay Dorian Finney-Smith 13.5. Vooch is definitely worth 20 for a year.
No,
Come
that
on
was
now.
me. I'm willing to pay Dorian Finney-Smith that much.
You and
I'm
the
giving
GM of
Dorian
Houston.
Finney the $2.5 million, bro.
So Rob, at the end of the story, Rob Pelinka, please trade for Vucevic. Please. He went to USC, for God's sakes. Let him come home. Oh, NBA. I tell you what, dude, it has been a really, really fun 48 hours of NBA. I get the big blockbuster deals, but I've enjoyed it so far. It's been fun. There's been movement. There's been a few trades. I'm digging what the NBA offseason has going on.
I enjoy the ride. I think I tweeted about it. I enjoy these times. The free agency opens, trade window opens, whatever that case is. Just seeing, refreshing Twitter to see what's popping, and it's been exciting. There's been some dual moments, a few hours. I'm refreshing, don't see nothing. But I wouldn't mind some more action. Some other teams getting competitive, making some moves and getting better, because there is a lot of teams that have yet to, I think, go out and get better, whether that be in the draft or free agency.
There is one deal I want to call out that we did not mention. That's going to be under the radar. Tyus Jones to the Orlando Magic, I think, is going to be you're thinking Trey Jones. He re-signed with the Bulls.
Oh, I'm well aware we overpaid by about $4 million a year.
A lot. But Tyus signed for 1 year, $7 million. I think that is going to be a very that's going to pay off for Orlando. And I'm saying it now. I am really high on Orlando in the Eastern Conference next season. I think they have a chance to make a run. I mean, we don't have to get into it right now. I'm just prefacing my future predictions here.
Yeah, I mean, I like them with the I like Paulo. I don't know if I fully am on board with going and get Desmond Bane for what took to get him, but I agree. I think Tyus Jones, obviously coming from the Suns, he's a guy that can run the offense. If he needs to start for you, he can. He's going to go out and get you 10, 12 points, not turn the ball over a crazy amount. I think if you're getting that for whatever, $7 million. I mean, they did have some departures, some ball handlers leave. Obviously, they had, I think, Caldwell Pope and Cole Anthony, and also Gary Harris left. So you do got some ball handlers. You do kind of got a backfill. And so far, you've done that with, obviously, Desmond Bane and Tyus.
Tyus will be a great backup point guard behind Suggs. Two Minnesota boys just running the point down there in the Big O.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
Thank you. Okay, guys. I think that's enough NBA. So I think that have on that.
Plenty of NBA now.
So let's touch on some NFL here to close. And there's no other place to start except there's really only two pieces of news that we need to talk about. First off is the Dolphins in Pittsburgh. The Dolphins and the Steelers make a very shocking trade, in my opinion, where Jalen Ramsey finally gets moved, as we've kind of hinted at in previous episodes. He also got a pay raise, so the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be paying him, I believe it's $26 million this upcoming season. They also received Jonnu Smith, who they then signed to a $12 million contract for this upcoming season, and a 2027 7th-round pick. In return, Miami got Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 2027 5th-round pick. My mind was kind of blown when I saw this, and I don't know if it's just the names that are involved with it, but I just don't even know what I think here.
Yeah, I mean, this trade, I don't know. It's a weird trade, sure. Minkah, got out of Miami. Now he's going back to a team where the culture is even worse, it would seem. I've got a huge question mark for Pittsburgh now at safety, but then I saw reports that they intend to play Jalen Ramsey at safety, which is real interesting.
So you're going to pay – that's the crazy part. They're going to pay him $26 million to play safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Jalen Ramsey, right? It's still Jalen.
Not that he's been, like, horrible the last couple seasons, but he's definitely not been the all-pro cornerback that he was early on in his career.
No, and he's either. What, 31, 32?
31 sounds right.
And, you know, Jonnu, we talked about when we did – sorry, Rob. We talked about Jonnu with Pittsburgh. Yeah. Great offensive addition. It doesn't make a lot of sense with Freiermuth, but if you plan on running a lot of two tight end set, which Aaron Rodgers kind of dictates and prefers a two tight end set, sure, that works. But, yeah, go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I think for me, I mean, I try to look to see who I think the winners and losers of this was. I do think Jalen will line up at corner, more of a nickel more than anything. I think you're going to have Deshaun Elliott and Thornhill, who you got from Cleveland, playing safety. Not to say he won't, you know, certain coverage packages he might move over there, but I think you're paying him to be your nickel. Or possibly, you know, guard, you know, whatever receiver that you think that if you're playing man or whatever the case may be. So for that, it's kind of a Jalen Minka swap. I like Minka a lot. He obviously started with Miami. He won some Pro Bowls and some all AP. Not one Pro Bowls. Made some Pro Bowls. Made an AP team down in Miami. He got traded. Was in Pittsburgh for 5-6 years, and now he's back. Jonnu Smith for the Steelers. I think you got Freiermuth already. You also have the guy from Georgia. Is it Washington?
Yeah,
Darnell Washington.
And so I think there was some swapping going on as well. I think they swapped like thirds, and then one got a fifth and one got a seventh. Either way, I think the trade is pretty equal, and I think a lot of people had them both as B grades. But the Miami also needed a need, so they also went out and got a tight end, and Darren Waller.
Sorry. Can we go back to Jonnu Smith real fast?
Yeah.
I respect that he cashed in on a career year last year, but Pittsburgh is going to be paying him like a top 10 tight end after, like, they're just forgetting the previous 7-8 years of mediocrity that he had prior to last season.
He can play, I think, but I don't agree paying him like a top 10 tight end. It's crazy that essentially Pittsburgh gets Jonnu Smith and all they had to do was swap a seventh for a fifth.
Pretty much.
I mean,
Fitzpatrick for Ramsey was 1-for-1.
Straight up, right? And then so you spent Jonnu in the seventh, and you got a fifth rounder back. For the Steelers, that seems like a steal.
Until you take into account the money, but
yeah, I think they. What did he sign? He signed a 1 year, $12 million extension, right, with the trade.
Yeah.
Which I think only $4 million of it's hitting the cap.
Fugazi.
So it's like
Fugazi.
Yeah, I mean it's also it's not. I would have thought differently if they signed him to some crazy 4-year, $48 million or something. It's kind of a wash. I think also back to my point about Darren Waller, is he unretired today? His successful rap career has kind of been halted a little bit. And so he has unretired, which his rights obviously go to the Giants. And then they went ahead and traded him to the Dolphins. So right now he is listed as their starting tight end at 32, 33 years old.
And hasn't been productive in a while.
He hasn't played in 2-3 years. And then when he was playing the last 2 years, he was injured. I mean, he had a couple years with the Raiders there for a minute, but it wasn't anything. I mean, he hasn't done anything since 2020 is kind of my point.
What was the compensation that they gave to New York for that? For him?
Yeah, what did they give up?
I think it was like a seventh.
I hope it wasn't anything more than 1/7.
Sorry, it's for a sixth.
Ish.
So they get his rights for a sixth. Which, if you're the Giants, you got to look at it. I got a sixth rounder out of somebody that could have chose to not play at all and not get anything out of. So props to the Giants for making it work. I don't know what his contract is exactly. I've looked at the websites I typically look for that, and they don't have anything listed yet. So I'm imagining it's not anything crazy, but who knows? But I mean, that's kind of the exciting news we had come out of the NFL.
Mike, can I ask a question on that? Right. So you
Yeah.
trade for a guy who's unretiring, was not super productive his last couple of years, all great points. Why wouldn't you have traded for a different tight end? I know it would have cost you a little bit more, but like Michael Mayer in Vegas is buried now behind Brock Bowers. Dallas Goedert, granted the injuries and the age, but he's in a contract year. Eagles probably won't bring him back. Like, there's guys out there that I'm sitting here looking at to go, they've played. It probably wouldn't cost you that much. Herb Smith, right? What's Herb Smith doing down in Houston? You couldn't call him. I think these are better options, but I mean, doesn't that make more sense, or am I out of left field on this one?
Yeah, when that trade initially broke, that was the name I saw for it, because obviously the Darren Waller thing came later. And Michael Mayer was the name I saw everywhere. Miami needs to go get a tight end. They don't even really have a backup tight end. I think they have Pharaoh Brown or something like that, which is who.
He's in a contract year too.
And he gets you 60 yards. I think it was last year he got you 60 yards or something like that.
Hey, you better hit that jugs machine. You're playing, Pharaoh. You're playing day one.
I mean, it's either – I was listening earlier. They were talking about it. I mean, they think that if Darren Waller is truly healthy, which in his last year or two with the Giants, for some reason he wasn't. Plus, he was focusing on his rap career and his engagement or marriage to Chelsea Plum.
You mean the one that fell apart?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But if he's back to healthy and can, I guess. But I agree. I think the Dolphins should have went out and got a Michael Mayer, somebody that could fill the need and stretch the field that Mike McDaniel likes doing down there. And maybe Mike McDaniel's seen some tape on Darren Waller and is like, okay, he's back to what he was. He can stretch the field. He can get downfield, sure. But as of right now, I don't see it. So that tight end position for the Dolphins is a pretty weak spot for that team, at least at this point.
Yeah, dude, they had to have seen tape of him working out, right? Like, I didn't see anything. Like, oh, shit. Like, Darren Waller's got a workout, little mixtape put together. Like, oh, is he coming back? It was out of left field. I mean, out of the blue. They had to have seen or had him in for a workout, right? Because
if I were to guess, I imagine the Giants had him in, and then obviously either recorded it or had representatives from the Dolphins there to see it or something.
God, I would hope so.
You don't just blindly go into that, I don't think, or I would hope not.
Yeah, it was a good 5 years ago. Fuck it.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think there's a potential just with tight ends. They are able to play at a little bit older of an age. Although tight ends that are primarily receiving tight ends and don't block as much outside of Travis Kelce don't seem to play as well later in their careers. What?
Travis Kelce still blocks?
What?
He barely plays football anymore.
Travis Kelce still blocks people?
No, I'm saying he doesn't.
Oh, I thought you were like, yeah, he's the anomaly. He's the blocking tight end that's made it so long. I'm like, sure.
Well, yeah, he is the anomaly. Like, he's essentially a tight end that doesn't block, who's
Correct.
Still.
I got you. I thought you were saying the inverse then. I'm like, I haven't seen Travis Kelce block in a couple of years now.
But with the offense that Miami runs, hey, I think he could go out there and do something. It's not like he's going to be the focal point like he was in Vegas. Like, if they're not funneling targets to Waddle and Tyreek, then there's bigger issues.
You imagine that
No.
McDaniels just says, fuck it, we're running 4 wides the entire time?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I don't know what fucking Miami's doing, bro.
And don't get me
I
started
like-
on that teal.
That teal is nice. I do like their old jerseys. That was one of Isaiah's hot takes as well, bro.
A lot of hot takes.
Yeah. Well, fellas, that was a lively episode. I appreciate the candor. Anything else you want to end on before we sign off here?
We got shout-outs this week?
Any of you guys have one?
I've got a good
for
one.
those not watching at home right now, I bleached my hair out of the blue as a almost soon-to-be 30-year-old for no reason outside of I just wanted to. So if you want to see what that looks like, check out the YouTube or just wait for us to post one of our 10 clips from this episode.
I'm just glad that Slim Shady was able to join us today.
Not gonna lie, kind of vibing with it though now.
I don't hate it. I'll give you that. I don't hate it. I just like busting your balls.
You should have seen it before we toned it before this episode. It was literally yellow. It looks like one of those. I don't know the cartoon character off the top of my head, but it's like that bright yellow.
You talking like Simpsons yellow?
Pretty fucking close.
Were you running around looking like Bart Simpson?
Here, I'll send you a picture of how I walked into work today.
Oh, jeez, fantastic. Rob, what's your shout out?
I don't have one. I think you're gonna have the big one, but I want to wish a guy got married this weekend. So shout out Jordan Love. Got a ring. He's gonna have 2 rings, in less than a year. So shout out Jordan Love, and I think it's Renika Stone is his now wife. So
hey, shout out David Bakhtiari for taking a shot at Aaron Rodgers. You see that?
I think he did that to be funny. He did it.
He did do it
to
be funny.
Or because Aaron Rodgers is just a terrible human being.
No.
All right, my shout out of the week. Okay, and Rob, you try to bash. I'm gonna shout a league out here. You've tried to bash this league previously for viewership issues. All right, but the NHL seems to have something figured out because this week the NHL and the NHLPA agreed to a 4-year extension on their CBA. Usually not a big deal, right? Their current CBA wasn't up for another year. So they are that far ahead of the curve when it feels like all the other major sporting industries, every couple of years we're hearing about there's a holdout, there might be a player strike, the CBA is not done. So shout out to the NHL for being ahead of it and getting shit done.
Yeah, because I saw the salary cap's going to be raising exponentially the next couple of seasons. They figured, what the hell? Don't need to do anything.
There's money coming in, baby.
Yeah.
I did look into that. The commissioner that the hockey's had has been the same guy since the early '90s.
Mr. Batman.
And he was on McAfee today. But to add to your shout out, I know we didn't talk about it and no one's talking about it, but I think that league did also have a draft this past week.
It did.
But I do want to give a shout out because it did get 500,000 people to tune in. So go NHL, baby.
Ooh,
hey, we're making
NHL
Rob a fan.
Did you see the new Utah Mammoth jerseys? Because those low key were filthy. I think they looked so clean.
I'm having a tough time buying in on the Utah Mammoth hockey club.
It sounds really odd to say out loud like I just did, but the jersey itself, that's clean. I love the color scheme. It just looks good with the mountains and the head. Love it.
Isaiah might have found his new NHL team. Maybe that's where you need to be, Rob. Maybe that's where your fandom needs to lie, with the Mormons.
I think I'm good, bro.
Dude, it could be fun. That's a cool jersey. Get in early. Buy stock now.
Get in early, baby. All right.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, tell somebody to give us a listen, leave a comment. Let me know how my hair looks, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.
See ya.